Welcome back, Wargamers. I got another Team GC Radzymin mod for Close Combat Last Stand Arm battle here. There's been a couple of battles since my last video and this one that I did actually play. I played several in a row here. But unfortunately, there was some network lag between my opponent and I in the last two, and I went back to watch the footage, and it was essentially unwatchable because of the lag. I think the first battle I probably got the best of him, and then the second battle he slapped me pretty hard. So, and in this battle I am fighting Discord handle or in-game name Beebus Zeminski. So for starters, we're on the Debbie Vilke map. I don't know if I'm even saying that right. I never do, but let's hope I am. That is located right here on the strategic map. So the battle before this was actually Radzymin. We just entered, and a division with Panthers had entered there, and I actually lost that, unfortunately. For this map, our orders are to just take the exit VL that is to the northwest. So let me bring this back up here. Right up here, I believe that heads to... That has got to head to Pustelnik. It might maybe go to Brzezni or Okinowa. Wow, I really don't know how to say these Polish names, so I apologize for that. But yeah, so command gave us that objective to take that, so that's what we're going to try to do. My force is kind of a mixed force. Bringing a light armored car, some armor, and a bunch of mortars. This isn't my ideal force selection, but my opponent had chose some things. Or sorry, not my opponent. My teammate had chose some things from the... My recording has these Discord bubbles on the left here from when I was in Discord playing this, and it keeps throwing me off. Anyways, my teammate who had played this map previously had chose the force pool, and it kind of inherited it. I did make a few changes, but if there's red numbers, that means it fought in the last battle, and you'll return it for a loss. So I try not to return things with red numbers unless they're like really, really low on troops, like say an infantry team that has 2 guys, then I'll replace that. I'm going to try to skip ahead here to where that battle actually starts. All right. So again, the goal is to take the upper left objective on this map, and this is a smaller map. It's very narrow. My initial thought was, oh, this is going to be hard to defend considering the enemy only has some SPGs and maybe a couple ATGs, but that was, false. Not a good way of thinking about it, because what ended up being is it was actually really easy for them to defend because there's only so many avenues of approach that I could move up the map through. But yeah, I'm going to focus my push on the left-hand side here, which again, you can see there's some really big open fields there, so that's going to make it kind of hard for me. And I do have 3 mortar teams here, which in retrospect, I think maybe if I use smoke a little bit more wise and concentrated my forces better, I would have had a better outcome, which I'm kind of giving away the end here. But yeah, it's not bad for me. It's just kind of inconsequential. I think I had a couple of bad battles against Panthers that made me a little bit nervous, so I've been spreading my force out a little bit more than I normally do, making sure everything's covered. Also, I feel that, I probably have a few slots that are wasted on things here that I could have maybe put infantry in or something, i.e. the armored car and maybe one of the mortar teams. But again, those had red numbers on them, so I didn't want to replace them for a loss. And let's just go ahead and skip. This is probably going to be a pretty short video. There's not a whole lot that happens in this battle. So right off the bat, we spot a Jagdpanther, I think that is. And I think there's three of them, three Jagdpanthers, and then an ATG there at the top left, covering that VL that we want to take. That could be a Stug. I can't really totally tell. That might be actually a Stug, but I'm not 100% certain. Sometimes I have a hard time telling some of the vehicles apart in this game. So yeah, we're gonna right off the bat put some mortars on that ATG to try to clear up that AOA. And then we're just suppressing some of the enemy that we're taking fire from in the buildings. Again, I probably won't have too much commentary in this video just because not a lot happens. But yeah, I don't want to move any armor up that left side until I can get that ATG taken care of, which is kind of what I'm doing there. And for those of you who may not know, ATG is just short for anti-tank gun, because that thing will make quick work of my tanks. The mortars are a bit wild there, going all over the place. I think that's his smoke he deployed to try to stop my T-34 from firing at that building at the road VL there. Now, anecdotally, despite the fact that smoke doesn't necessarily block line of sight because there's the Borg spotting thing going on in this game, it does seem like it might reduce rate of fire, but I'm not sure. So like that T-34, for instance, might fire a little bit less at that building that it's aiming at because of that smoke there. That said, I'm not 100% sure on that. It's, like I said, anecdotal, something that I've thought may be happening, but not 100% sure on. Maybe someone who knows the systems better can pipe up in the comments. So yeah, this firefight goes on for some time after this. A lot of micro movements back and forth, trying to position tanks so I can shoot at buildings. You can see he brought his SPG up there. SPG being the self-propelled gun, or this Jagdpanther? I think that is a Jagdpanther, yeah. It does look like one. So we started taking some fire from those hedgerows on the right, so I just put some mortars down on them. And I think this game actually was against Artie Steiner, not Beavis Zeminski. I think I'm misremembering that one. Or in-game name, Oberst Steiner. I'm sure some of you from the community who watch this know who I'm talking about. In fact, some of you that are in this Team GC will probably be watching this, I imagine. And that ATG on the left there is just holding on for dear life. I'm real nervous about pushing any armor up to that to get a shot off on it. Because I've had real bad luck with those ATGs. You can see for a moment there was another Jagdpanther that popped up behind that hedgerow on the right. Even though I don't see anything in this outbuilding here, I start targeting it because I'm suspecting that there's maybe Panzerschreck trying to get a bead on one of my tanks down here, hence the smoke being popped there. So I just start targeting that to prevent anything from sneaking in there and taking out one of my tanks. I think I got a little impatient over here on the left with that ATG and wanted to move this team up to be able to shoot at it better, which in retrospect was a bad idea. He immediately starts dropping mortars on it, and I uncover a team here in the hedgerow that starts shooting at them. Not my best plan, but it is what it is. Yeah, it's such a narrow, long map. He had all of his approaches pretty well covered. I didn't have much chance to do too much here. That said, I'm sure there's many ways I could have played better. I do think maybe I could have pushed up the right side. But that wasn't my command order directive, so I, did what I was told to do and tried to push up the left, which was more or less unsuccessful. And, as I said earlier, I probably could have concentrated more forces there too. That would have been helpful. Maybe even just a second tank over there would have been enough to shift the tide. Which he does, I don't think we've seen it yet in the footage, but he does have another Jagdpanther in this hedgerow right here, this L-shaped hedgerow. So, even then, I'm not sure I would have been able to make it through. I would have had to get lucky with some shots from one of my tanks. So Jagdpanther moved up and took a shot at my T-34-85 there, but I back it up because I'm not confident that I'm going to be able to win that firefight there. See, I'm moving that team away from the wall there to the back of the building to try to give them more cover. So they're taking quite a lot of damage there from that Jagdpanther and the guns shooting at them, small arms. And then I'm bringing this SU up to try to get a side shot on that Jagdpanther, which, interestingly enough, I'm going to get line of sight for 1 second. You'll see this here. And when I tell it to fire, it almost immediately loses line of sight, and then I can't seem to get it back from there, which was quite frustrating for me, gotta say. You can see I'm still putting cover fire on this outbuilding here, that way to keep any AT teams out of there. Yeah, I just can't quite get that line of sight again. You can see I moved that over even. Spotted that other Jagdpanther in that L shape like I mentioned earlier. Yeah, you see a Shrek shot at that SU right there, but missed somewhere from inside that building, despite me putting all that suppressive fire down on it. Yeah, the Shreks in this game are not only accurate, but very deadly. And experienced, usually. Looks like we may have killed one of the crew members there. So I start backing that SU off. It looked like he fired from a little bit deeper in the building, actually, which I directed most of my gunfire to that kind of outbuilding that I had mentioned earlier. And I really want to take out one of these Jagdpanthers here, but boy, I just have a heck of a time. One of the frustrating things about this game is your armor likes to shift the entire hull when it takes a shot, which, you know, in certain situations can be fine because you want that front armor facing, but in a situation like you just saw there where I want to sneak up, take a shot, and then back up, I don't necessarily want to wait for my tank to, you know, move up, shift its whole body. And then the turret too doesn't tend to move. So see that right here how that's, you know, it'll generally move the whole body and then shift the turret back to the left if it's, you know, moving to the right, which is just very frustrating. I don't understand the I don't want to say I don't understand the thought process, because there probably just wasn't any thought process, but the thought process was most likely a tank should shift its front to whatever it's attacking, fine, but then they didn't think about, you know, situations like this. And I do get one shot off with that Su-85, but it misses, and he backs up the Jagdpanther, unfortunately. Which this has been one of my frustrations in this mod, is the incompetency of Russian armor crews, which may be historical, I don't know. I don't think so, but there's some that would probably argue that it is. I think the disparity in numbers between casualties of Russian and German armor throughout World War II had more to do with the, you know, kind of macro, the operational strategic tactics, planning, how they did things more so than it was individual crews or just the machine itself. In some cases it is, sure, but so you get a game at this scale and I don't always feel that it accurately represents that because it just kind of can't. So I think at this point I was telling my opponent, I don't know what I can even do. I'm going to just scoot up there a little bit. Actually bring that T-34-85 on the left up finally to shoot at that ATG. I got so sick of it. Dangerous, but I really wanted to break this stalemate even though we were down to just 3 minutes left. If I can make any sort of gain, I'll be happy about that at this point. You can see I start moving stuff up on the right there. In fact, I think that's a mortar team. Yeah, it is. I don't intend for them to get any sort of combat, just a little bit of forward scouting and pushing that spawn up for the next person who fights on this map. These games, every inch of ground counts, that's for sure. Oh yeah, and I lose this T-34 here. Which this deceived me because I thought it hadn't seen me. Because it looked like it wasn't looking at me. But boom. There's a little bit of variation in the side-to-side, left to right degrees that that turret, I think, can move on the Yak Panther. But animation-wise in this game, it wasn't obvious to me. Despite that, it was still a dangerous move. So, I got what I was asking for there. Yeah, if you're going to do something like that, it's best to come from 2 different angles. Have one come here and one come here and fire at the same time. And even then, in this mod, it's no promise because the German crews are just so much more competent than the Russian, it seems. Or I should say Soviet, not Russian. We don't know if they're Russian or not. Try to move this T-34-85 up over here. I was hoping maybe I could get a flank shot on that Yag Panther, but you're going to see we're going to run out of time right about now. Yep. Alright. I'll just pause right here. So yeah, a real firefight. Not a lot of ground taken, not a lot of changes, just a lot of back and forth shooting. You can see we actually traded almost equal amounts of infantry. I did lose that one T-34-85, which was unfortunate. We have a lot more where that comes from, but it still sucks losing one. But anyways, I have played a couple more battles after this too that I've recorded that I'll go in and offer my voiceover for, and I don't know, just let me know what you guys think in the comments if you're watching. Thanks again.